This is lunch, and I'm not having lunch because I'm going to give you a tour of the troll market. This is the door that they discovered and they opened, a clockwork door. It was based on an original idea that we had for another set, and when we lost that set, we stole it for this. The Legend of Unus Mundus. It's a Jungian joke. Look it up. And we start saying, you know, these are the trolls light, the bright lights, and they have these TV sets that have no show ever. They never watch TV, but they watch the TV. We have here the noodle factory. Immediately to the right, the noodle factory. It's an idea we had originally for Hellboy 1. We had the idea to do a chase through a noodle factory. We never got it, but I like the texture of the noodles. I think it's rather beautiful. Throughout the market, you're going to see things that feel Eastern European, things that feel more Mouresque and more African. And it's the different cultures that mingle in the troll market. You have goblins, hobgoblins, trolls, fraggle wumps, every type of creature. These things are what we call the fairy coops. And they are sort of big buildings to lodge fairies. They nest in there, and they lodge families of up to 200 fairies on each. And they fly in and out like pigeon coops. And this bridge that I think we designed one originally, but since Hellboy was going to break, we decided to duplicate it. And one of the problems we had is this is a real quarry. And we had the problem that structurally these pillars essentially are like checkerboard, so they interrupt each other. So to create perspective in these places, we needed to repeat an element, and the bridge was a very good tool for that. This is not a movable set. This is not a set where you need the camera a meter more away and you can't, or say, it's great, but take that column out because you have tons and tons of rock hanging above your head. There was a wall here, actually, and when we first scouted this thing, I felt that the space would feel more deep if we took out a couple of walls, and it did. Originally, we were going to put the door here to have this deep perspective, but then when we saw it, we thought it was worth changing the language of the introduction. Then those plates, those plaques made in supposedly rusty steel. The girls in the art department developed the troll language. I'm sure that somewhere in there are insults directed at me or someone, you know, certainly me. But they designed the whole troll alphabet for this movie, and it's used repeatedly throughout the film. This, I designed the basic concept for this, for the rollers. You know, the idea I had again about the oversized nature of this thing is that it's a bone and flesh grinding machine that makes mulch, and then people come in with buckets and they buy the mulch to eat. But one of the things that it does, it has, this could be a found arch in the sewers maybe, or they brought these stones from a subway station or something. It has a neoclassical feeling, but the machine definitely has a totally industrial turn of the century feel. We tried to keep the color palette very subdued in the market, too subdued in a way. You know, we were in greens and blues and only those earth yellows and ochres, and trying to keep the bright colors to a minimum in the market. Then we come to this. You know, these are completely the opposite feeling. It's not Moorish or Eastern. These are Eastern European design. We based this woodwork in a balcony here in Budapest that is near a bookstore I go. And we went one day and we photographed it, and that's where this came from. hanging wire, which is very chaotic. The idea is they steal power from the surface. Stephen Scott showed me some reference photos from Kowloon. It was a Chinese city that was, you saw cables like this everywhere, and I thought it was really nice to have that feeling of they are stealing the water from the surface and the power from the surface, and it's the steam, and we'll see it over here. This is a gorgeous piece of plumbing. I love pipes and I love rusty pipes, and I think Ellie designed this complex steam pipe system to feed into this one that she called the steam house. It's a great set. It's only seen in passing, but it is in the movie, and it's full of dirty laundry, towels, robes for everyone going into the steam baths. You never see anyone coming in or out because that door goes right against the wall. But you see the laundry, and you see, more importantly, you see all the sandals in every size known to trolls. You have the normal size sandals to this size of sandals, and they're here. There's a lot more detail than you can feature in a movie with a plot. You should actually have this documentary. We have a furnace that barely figures in the film. It's just a backlight in the distance. Unfortunately, because I like this very much, but there are about 2 corners of the market that I couldn't get to in the time we had to portray it, and this was one of them. The gears are a leftover from the first Hellboy. These are gears that were turning behind Manning at the end when he says, guys, are you still there? Then I'll show you a better perspective piece than this. This Ellie Griff came up with the idea of a bone carver that used to carve souvenirs for people, and is there. Again, I wanted this photographed on this little tour because we didn't photograph this or the furnace properly, and I think they're beautiful pieces. The furnace particularly, I love the sort of dragon scales of the chimney. I think the main perspective of the market is this one. This is where you get a sense of depth. One of the things that you will notice now that the lights are not on, if you look that way and the light is just general, the hot points, the hot lights, steal every sense of perspective. It flattens everything really bad. So when we were lighting this, we needed to have different planes of light and control every hotspot, any hotspot, more than in any other set. You didn't want hotspots for your eye to go there. And there's a lot of lights in the market. This is a perspective piece. Again, it gives a lot of depth, but if you see, it's really a forced perspective. As I go forward, I become very tall. And this little bench, which in the background could look like a bigger bench, is really a very tiny bench. And what we did is we hired very little people. One of them is right behind you. Very short guys. Very little guys to populate this area, smaller and smaller. I'll leave that bench there. Trolls eat children, and supposedly dwell under bridges. So we had trolls like in a board full of missing children for the trolls to put information like saying, it's like a menu, like a takeout menu. for the trolls. Another design that was in my notebook for many, many years and finally made it here is a big faucet maze that I originally thought for a movie in 1993, and now it's here. I'm very happy. I keep that crap and it eventually gets made. This is the apothecary. This is the guy that sells medical remedies. And then we have the trolls favor these hubcaps as trays for food. They live on a diet of mice, cats, and children, if they can afford them. Then we have some medicinal stuff over there. You know, these are a very extreme form of troll acupuncture. And the great thing is, if it doesn't work, they bury you on it very fast. If the troll market color palette was limited to a certain hue, this was the most important part of that, because I wanted Abe and the princess to be in a blue and golden world when they met. The map shop, which is the main set in the troll market, is designed to have only those colors in there. And this was very Moorish in design, but we wanted to everything. Ellie was very careful in designing any motif have to do with celestial maps or maps of the earth or maps of particular geographical places, and they're all in the troll language. Let's go over here. Once again, Ellie was very careful to make everything a map-related thing. So the handle in this tusk carving is a carving of a map, of a navigational map. It's rather beautiful.